That was awesome. I am so excited and honored to be here with you today. Thank you for allowing me to come and share. I've given this talk in many different locations, in Hawaii, California, Oregon. My poor teenage kids have had to endure this talk so many times. They know it by heart. In fact, one of them can come up here and give this talk. It reminds me of a story. Albert Einstein, when he was doing the speaking circuit all across the country, on his final lecture, his chauffeur said, "I've heard this talk so many times, I know it by heart. Please let me give this final lecture." And Einstein said, "Okay." So the chauffeur got a little bow tie, looking like a professor, got his coat on, and he had a little mustache. He looked like Albert Einstein. He got on stage. Albert Einstein went to the back and dressed up as the chauffeur. And he gave, the so-called Albert Einstein, gave this incredible lecture. He had everybody confused. But there was this one retired mathematics professor in the back that knew something was very suspicious. So he asked a question, a very deep mathematical calculus question that only the real Einstein could answer. And the imposter Einstein on stage said, "That's such a simple question. Even my chauffeur in the back can answer that." So after the service, all the deep questions about the mystery of the soul and afterlife, if you ask that question, I'm gonna say, "That's such a simple question. Even my teenagers can answer that one." Earlier this week, I was at the University of Oregon giving a keynote speech to 200 rowdy teenagers. And it was electric, and I gave them a summary of my life story. It took about 15 minutes, but I'm going to give you the summary, very short summary of it. And then they asked me some deep, deep questions that I would like to share with you today. Because they hit home to the soul of living your truth. So what I shared with these teenagers who want to go to college, I shared with them my life story of a Cuban refugee. I was born in Cuba, came on the Mario boat lift when I was 4 years old, and I was raised in the inner city of Miami by a single mom, and I wanted to get out of this poverty. So I said, I'm going to go to the NBA and be the next Michael Jordan. So I pursued that dream with passion. I'm going to be the next Michael Jordan. And I failed. I said, well, what do short Cubans do? They go to the major leagues. So I pursued that dream with passion. And I failed. And there was a couple other failures along the road. But then I got lucky. I got into college, got a double major, and went on to medical school. Now I'm living the dream I shared with them. I'm living the dream, house on a hill, married my soulmate, got 3 beautiful children. And I shared with them that story, and I said, any questions? If I can do it as a Cuban refugee, anyone in this room can do it, I told the teenagers. Then, a Hispanic gentleman, maybe Mexican, I'm not sure where he's from, but he looked Hispanic, and he had some tattoos and earrings, and he looked pretty tough. He looked at me and said, how do you know your dream is over? What if you have external influences telling you your dream is over? Why do you stop there? How did you continue and not know that your dream was over? And I said, when a dream ends and when a dream begins, you find the answer from within, not from any external influences. So we have to tune into our inner wisdom, inner knowledge. And that really comes from science. And I shared with them this, that in our brain we have neurotransmitters, but in our gut we have more neurotransmitters. We have a larger nervous system in our gut, enteric nervous system. So when we have that knowing from within, nobody's going to tell us not to pursue this dream or the dream is over. I told them, you will know. So I tell the teenagers, you will know which dream to pursue, and you will know when the dream is over. And another teenager asked a question. He said, I see in your life story that you gave us, you had a lot of failures. How did you continue to stay motivated after each failure? Pretty deep question. So I told him that success is defined as going from failure to failure with enthusiasm. Those are not my words, that's Winston Churchill, but I said to the teenager, don't think about failure, because that's the end result. Think about the journey. That's the most rewarding thing. It's the journey, and then failure is just a springboard, a stepping stone to your next great adventure. And the final question that I think really hits home, goes straight to the heart, that this teenager asked me. He said the following: I see that in your life story, from NBA, major leagues, all these different things you did, you had a really strong work ethic. What if somebody doesn't have that strong work ethic? What do you do then? Isn't these some pretty deep questions these teenagers are asking? I said, when you pursue your passion, your work becomes your play. Your vocation becomes your vacation. So I told them that people from the outside would look at my life and say, that's such hard work, you had to work at it. And I'm like, I was playing. I loved playing on the streets of Miami trying to go to the NBA. I loved all the friends and relationships I built, and it was the journey that was so great. And people thought that it was a lot of hard work, but for me it was fun, it was play. In fact, it reminds me of a famous story. A Western journalist came to Mahatma Gandhi and said, you've been working every day, 15 hours every single day for the past 49 years. Don't you need a vacation? And Gandhi famously said, I am always on vacation. So he was doing what he loved. He was doing his life's work, his dharma. So I felt that those three questions that the teenagers asked me really answered the living your truth, because knowledge is not enough. So when we are discovering how to live our truth, we ask ourselves some of the following questions. Is our mind, emotions, and our nervous system, are they synchronized? See, it was a quote in the bulletin there. So, is our mind, emotions, and nervous system synchronized? Are we having fun with our activity? Are we getting results? Is it something that's coming relatively easy for us? Are we rewarded? Are we inspired? Are we inspiring others? So see, these are some of the simple questions. And we can just tune into our body, our inner wisdom, inner intelligence, that's telling us if it's right or if it's wrong. And we pursue that. No one from the outside can tell us really what to do. And I want to share with you, about a year and a half ago, we were on vacation, and on vacation, I committed a mortal sin. I opened up my laptop. On vacation, we were on a Caribbean cruise. And Pam said, what are you doing? You don't work on vacation. And I said, this is not work for me, this is play. I was writing the stories in Love's the Answer book. I was writing that book during vacation. It was just after the infamous political elections, and I was like, I'm not going to get into negativity. I'm going to get into positivity with Love's the Answer. So I was having great fun writing this story in the book. And we had a deadline to find the title of the book, because I had to submit it for pre-order. So we had a hard deadline, and that evening, Pam and I were discussing titles for the book. We had about 12 different titles, 5 principles, ancient principles, so many different titles. And at the 11th hour before the deadline, we said, let's go with Love's the Answer. I was not sure Love's the Answer was the correct title for the book. I had a lot of uncertainty. I had a lot of doubt in my mind. And the next day was a new day. We submitted the book for pre-order online. It was done. Love the Answer was the title, even though I wasn't certain. And then we had a free day in Jamaica. The cruise ship stopped in Jamaica. We could do anything we wanted in Jamaica. We were so excited to go to Doctor's Cave. It's a world, I don't know if anybody's visited Jamaica, but they have a world-renowned snorkeling spot, Doctor's Cave. And they also have the Dunes Falls, so we were gonna go there. We were all so excited to go there. And when we went off the port, we got into a taxi minivan. All 5 of us got in there. He was gonna take us to this world-renowned destination. Then the gentleman who was driving the taxi wasn't moving. Many minutes went by, like half an hour went by. I was thinking, what's going on? So I finally had the courage to go tell this Jamaican man, I said, are we gonna go to this famous world-renowned snorkeling spot? He said, we need 7 people. We can't go with 5 people in the minibus. And so it was hot, Jamaica's hot, and we all were a little antsy. We're like, we can't just sit here waiting for 2 more people. So we decided to, he said, you can catch a taxi if you want. We all got out, a little bit frustrated because it wasn't going according to plan. Then a taxi driver came by and said, I can take you to Doctor's Cave right now, but it's gonna cost you. It's gonna be a lot of money. He was gonna charge us. So we said, no, we'll wait for another taxi. So we finally got a taxi driver who, charismatic young Jamaican man with dreadlocks, he was a Rastafarian. He had a Guayabera shirt on, and he had the dreadlocks on. It was concealed with a little cover. And he said, I'll take you to an awesome spot. He said in Jamaican. I'm not going to do my Jamaican accent right now. But he took us there, and we had a great time in this other location. We just released and let go, and we had an amazing time in this spot that he took us to. And then on the way back, we were talking to him. I said to him, do you know when Buju Banton is getting out of jail? Because I thought he might know, he's from Jamaica. Anybody know Buju Banton? Or Bob Marley? Anybody know Bob Marley? Bob Marley. So Buju Banton was going to be the next Bob Marley. So he was really, really famous, but he went to jail, so he was still in jail at the time, and still in jail now. And this young taxi driver said, Buju, my brother from another mother. And he started singing some Buju Banton songs that were my favorite from 22 years ago. And I started singing along with him, and my kids are my witness. They looked at me, they saw me jamming and vibing to Buju Banton's song, this stranger taxi driver singing my favorite songs that I hadn't sung in 22 years. And I was so happy. I had forgotten about Doctor's Cave and what we wanted to do. I was there loving this moment. And then my wife, at the very end, when he's going to drop us off, he's getting close to the shore, she says, can you please sing us one more song? And then at the very end, this complete stranger says, can I sing you an original? And this is where the synchronicity, the magic really happens, how the universe conspires to bring you a message. It's a conspiracy of improbabilities. So I want to share with you this video, if we have it, of my daughter actually captured this moment on video of this complete stranger singing us this one last song before we got off. uncertainty was answered. Love is the answer. We did choose the right title for the book. Now, isn't that incredible how that happened? How the universe just gives you the message in subtle ways, sometimes not so subtle. When we actually told the kids, because the kids didn't know what happened 24 hours prior, when we told them the deadline that we submitted this title to the book, they said, no way. You're lying. You're pulling our leg. That didn't happen. But it's a true story, and I have some witnesses here. So we've discussed live your truth because knowledge is not enough. One presence, one power unites us all, as we can see through this story. And the next, validate with meditation as medication. Here's something I share with my patients all the time, and I have medical students in my practice. I'm a family medicine physician, and I ask my medical students, what is the one thing that can lead to every single disease that humans get afflicted with? One thing that can lead to dementia, memory loss, anxiety, depression, high blood pressure, heart disease, heart failure, gastritis, acid reflux. I can name pretty much everything you can think of. Cancer, premature aging, everything, hair loss, dermatitis, could be directly or indirectly related to chronic uncontrolled stress. When we have chronic uncontrolled stress, it just really affects our body's hormones in a way that leads to disease. We know that from science. So I share with my patients the following simple exercise. I say to them, I want to give you a medication that's free. It's free of side effects as well. You can do it anytime, anywhere. You can increase your dose anytime you want. And I want you to take your first dose right now. I want you to take your first dose right now. Take a deep, conscious breath in. And take another dose right now. Take a deep, conscious breath in. And it's as simple as that, a conscious breath in and out. Harvard researchers have shown that from one session of meditation, you're already altering your genetics. When they test your blood, they test your genes. Dr. Benson from Harvard has shown this. You upregulate 1,500 genes of stress reduction. So you can be a novice who's never meditated, but after just 6 to 8 weeks of meditation, simple breathing practice, you've already upregulated your genes, 1,500 genes of stress reduction. And when they compared the Buddhist monks that were meditating for decades, they had 2,000 genes. So not quite at the level of the advanced practitioner, but I think it's pretty impressive studies anyway. So another thing that we're doing with meditation, we are discovering, or we're living our truth, and we are discovering one presence, one power. Meditation allows us to do that. And this happens through the stimulus response cycle. So when we have more mindfulness in our daily lives, we are creating more space between stimulus and response. So instead of a stimulus and a reaction, we have a stimulus, and then we have a conscious response to our daily activity. So we are the conscious choice makers when we're harnessing the power of meditation. And that's why I love Unity, because we're always doing such great meditation. In fact, I love that meditation on responsibility. That was so good. I almost think Pam was elbowing me. When you get back to Eugene, you better be responsible and take care of the yard work. Let God work through you for that yard work. Now, the next principle that I want to share with you is experience is created by a thought. This one could be challenging to explain to like a scientist maybe, because they may think, oh, this is, how do you do this? How can you really shape your reality just by your thinking? But Unity, we know that this happens. But the wonderful thing that we know now is that Harvard researchers are showing that this happens. We create our own happiness from within. In any situation, we can generate our own happiness, which is long-lasting and more permanent than the happiness you get from external objects. In fact, the Harvard research, I want to share with you one study that I think is very, very powerful. Everybody now has a gadget, a smartphone. Raise your hand if you have a smartphone in this crowd. Almost everybody. So the Harvard researchers gave an app, an iPhone app to the participants. So about a couple thousand participants. And this app would buzz randomly throughout the day. And it would ask 3 questions. What are you doing? How are you feeling? And where was your thinking? Where was your thoughts? Was your thoughts in the present moment, or was it in the past or the future? What do you think was the most important predictor of happiness in this study? Where was it? Perfect. Professor, perfect. Yes. So it didn't matter if they were washing the dishes. If they were thinking about washing the dishes, they were feeling happy. So we know the present moment awareness is really the only place that happiness is found. And they have already discovered the functional MRI studies that basically the human brain is like, you can think of it as a drunken monkey mind. It's thinking about the past and future, and that's leading to unhappiness. So through meditation, mindfulness and meditation, and creating our reality through present moment awareness, we are generating our own happiness, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing. I think I have enough time to share another couple stories. Looking at Reverend Rich. This story here is a classic story that I want to highlight. Let's have a brief thought experiment. Let's imagine that tomorrow everyone in here won the lottery and became millionaires overnight. That would be wonderful, right? I'll be really, I think that'll make most of us a little bit happy to be millionaires overnight. And think about, after 1 year, we're going to test your happiness. After 1 year of being a millionaire. And now, let's think of another thought experiment. Now, the tragic thing happened. Everybody got in a car accident and was paraplegic. And it's an unfortunate event. This is just a thought experiment, so don't get too caught up in it. 1 year later, we're going to test your happiness. Now, this study has already been done. The classic study of paraplegics and lottery winners. Take a wild guess, who was happier 1 year later? The lottery winners or the paraplegics? Paraplegics. It's an unbelievable thing. The paraplegics were focusing on present moment awareness. They were happy with having a dinner, coffee, tea, watching TV with family and friends. The simple things of life brought them great pleasure, and they were happy. And as you can imagine, the lottery winners, they had all this material abundance that we know does not bring happiness. And they were more unhappy because they were caught in what's known as the hedonic treadmill. When you're getting happiness from external objects, that's object referral. Instead of generating happiness from within, that's self-referral. And that's what we're doing in unity with our practice. We're generating happiness from within that's long-lasting and permanent. And when we do this, we know that we're living life and we're seeing life as if everything is a miracle. That's what we're doing in unity with these principles. And by the way, these principles, as we know, are ancient, universal, and children, they live on spontaneously and effortlessly. Children are like on a permanent vacation in terms of the relaxation response. They're happy, free, and you never see a 4 or 5 year old say, I gotta go to Hawaii on vacation because I'm so stressed. No, they're happy. they're at peace. So I'm sharing with you some science behind these principles, but we can see it so easily in small children. And the final principle, so let's make sure everyone has it. The first principle, go like this. We got the L. Let me see everybody throw up the L. Okay, good. Okay, then the O, second principle. Good. Not University of Oregon, but this is the O for the one presence, one power. And now the V for validate. You meditate, you medicate. Good. Now this is a little bit more tricky. Throw up the E. Experiences created by thought. Now we have the final principle. This is the hardest one to do. Throw the S sign for me. I want to see the S for spark of divinity. Good. Good. So we got it. The final principle. Spark of divinity in everyone. to try to explain to somebody who's not part of unity, to like a friend who maybe is an atheist or something, it may be challenging to describe to them what a spark of divinity is. So I decided the spark of divinity, through science, we can see that there's stardust in everyone. That way, even an atheist, anyone could understand the truth, the universal truths about science. And I wanted to share with you how incredible the microcosm and the macrocosm reflect each other and show that we are all one in this incredible universe. So your brains, think about some of these facts about the secret science that a lot of people don't think about. But my teenagers think about this because they've heard this. You have 100 billion neurons in your brain. And the Milky Way galaxy, which we saw a picture of, the Milky Way galaxy, there's 100 billion stars. Think about that connection. And in our microbiome, we have 100 trillion bacteria. Pretty big number. But our neurons, our neuronal connections, we have 100 trillion neuronal connections. Think about that similarity. And the Earth's surface is 71% water, and our body is 70% water. And 99%, this one is astounding to think about, 99% of your body that seems solid is empty space when you break it down at the atomic level. And even more amazing is that 98% of your atoms in your body are recycled every year. So you have a new body every single year that you're sharing with everyone in the universe. And the most astonishing thing is, when I check your carbon, your hydrogen, your oxygen, nitrogen, these different atoms in your body, scientists have done this since 1950s, we know this. 93% of those atoms in your body are coming from stars, or stardust. Think about how amazing that is. We're all just stardust, basically. And I love to think about this principle is a remembrance of the 4 other principles that came before. And it's a remembrance of how we're all so interconnected. And if we think about the word namaste, anybody knows the definition of namaste? The light within me salutes the light within you. The light within me honors the light within you. And we all starlight, coming from stardust. Thank you for having me. Namaste.